Hi everyone, this is Migs from Sneaks and Ball PH, and today we have a quick look and review on the Air Jordan 1 High OG, CO.JP or Concept Japan, Tokyo. To start things off, when there was news that this shoe was releasing, I was actually pretty curious because I've never seen an Air Jordan like this before. And there is a good reason why the shoe didn't seem familiar to me, because the original release of this Tokyo Air Jordan 1 was in 2001 and was really limited because there were only 2001 pairs available and it was exclusive to Tokyo, Japan. It was also in 2001, and since I was born in 1996, I was 5 years old, so that kind of explains why I never knew that these came out in 2001. But after doing a little bit of research on the shoe and seeing pictures of it online, it did seem like a super cool shoe, and I'm actually thankful that Jordan brand decided to release these outside of Japan, even though we kind of get a regular Jordan 1 box. I say this because the 2001 pairs of Jordan 1s that released in 2001 and the 2020 limited pairs of Jordan 1 Tokyos that released in Japan this 2020 all came with a silver metal briefcase. Then with that out of the way, let's get into the unboxing. So the box on the Jordan 1 CO.JP Tokyo is your standard Jordan 1 OG high box. It's just that instead of having your normal black and red, it is this neutral gray with silver Nike branding. So now time to take a peek at the shoes. So popping open that lid, you have that paper that says 2001-2020. And then here you have your left shoe. And in pictures as well as now in person, I just really like the way that this Jordan 1 colorway looks. So just putting this aside for a while. Then here you have your right shoe. And the colorway is neutral gray as well as silver. So it does have two technically different colors, but as you can see, it does seem pretty monochromatic. But I'll get into why I like that later. So here you have it, guys. This is the Air Jordan 1 CO.JP Tokyo. So just like with any Jordan 1 High OG, it comes unlaced. And this is because Michael Jordan always wanted his shoes unlaced so he could lace them up before the game. But I'm also pretty curious why they only do that in the Jordan 1s, because he pretty much did this his whole career. And I guess if Jordan brand is really gonna be very consistent, then they should make all of the Jordans come unlaced like this. So please sound off in the comment section down below if you think that they should have all of the Jordans come unlaced, or if you're just fine with the Jordan 1s being the only ones. Then just a few quick tech specs on the Jordan 1 OG High. So you do have that outsole, which is definitely the best traction you could ever get on any basketball shoe. It has this pivot point here on the forefoot, these concentric circles, then these thick rubber grooves here at the heel, and this just sticks to everything all the time. And I've actually played basketball in a pair of Jordan 1s, and they just stick to everything like glue, and they're also super durable as well. So you might be asking, why don't other people play in Jordan 1s? It's pretty simple. It's the lack of cushion. So for the cushion on the Jordan 1, you pretty much just have a rubber cup sole as well as an EVA wedge here at the heel. The cushion on the Jordan 1s is pretty much non-existent because you ride as close to the ground as possible. But if you're just using this to walk around casually, that super low to the ground feel with that rubber cup sole kind of gives you a neutral ride. However, if you want to play basketball in a pair of Jordan 1s like I once tried to do, you definitely have to put a pretty thick insole inside to at least give you some impact protection. Then for the materials, here on the upper, you actually have some really nice premium materials all throughout the shoe. So for the neutral gray portions of the shoe, you have this pretty thick and premium feeling nubuck, and it does feel super smooth and soft to the touch and gives a very elegant vibe to the shoe. My pair does have a few imperfections here on the nubuck, like here on the medial side of my right shoe, because it does seem like there were some veins of the cowhide that were used, which isn't the best looking thing in the world, but at least you know that they use genuine materials, and genuine materials tend to have imperfections because they come from actual animals. So for that premium feeling nubuck, you can find it on the forefoot rand, this small forefoot wing piece that also acts as the first three eyelets, this rand that goes from the eyelets all the way to the collar, the midfoot panel, and the top of the ankle collar. Then here on the tongue, you do have some more neutral gray with this thin tumbled leather, and even though it does feel pretty thin, the leather does feel soft to the touch. Then for the silver portions of the shoe, you do have silver silver tumbled leather here at the toe, as well as here on the heel cup. Then you also have silver leather here on the Nike swoosh on the lateral and medial side. And lastly, you also have silver leather here on the ankle collar that connects to the top two eyelets. It is actually quite weird because the nubuck is pretty much the same all throughout the shoe, but for the leather on the shoe, it is tumbled here on the forefoot as well as the heel cup, but it has a much smoother split grain texture here on the Nike swooshes as well as the ankle collar. It really isn't that big of a deal and you really can't notice that from afar, but I just thought that that was an interesting move that they decided to use two different kinds of leather. Then for fit and sizing, I did go with my standard size 10, which I use for all of my Jordan 1s, and it fits me perfectly just as usual. I recommend going true to size for everyone regardless if you have a narrow foot, a normal width foot, or a wide foot. The only exception would be if you have a super duper narrow foot or an extra wide foot, then in those cases you can go up or down half a size accordingly, but for the general populace, I think the true to size is the way to go with the Jordan 1. Unless of course you just like a really loose fit on your casual shoes, then you could also go up half a size, and that really wouldn't change the overall experience in terms of like the lockdown. And besides, people really only use these for casual wear, so if you go for a casual fit that's pretty loose, then it's perfectly fine. Then for the aesthetic details, here on the outsole you have that signature Jordan 1 traction pattern, and then here at the midfoot you have that Nike branding, as well as those signature stars here at the tip of the toe. Then for the midsole, aka the rubber cup sole, it is this white, and I really think this was a good touch because it would have made it look so monotonous if there wasn't any white on the shoe, and I think the midsole was a pretty good place to put white. Then for the upper, you have that classic Jordan 1 OG high silhouette, and then the overall shoe is pretty simple, classic, and timeless. So you have that neutral gray nubuck here on the forefoot rand, the midfoot, as well as the top of the ankle collar, as well as that neutral gray tumbled leather tongue. Then you also have that shiny silver tumbled leather here on the forefoot, as well as the heel cup. And then you have that silver leather with that split grain texture here on the Nike swooshes on the lateral and medial side, as well as the ankle collar as well. Then here on the lateral side of the ankle collar is probably my favorite aesthetic detail of the shoe, and that is this Air Jordan Wings logo that has this jeweled look to it. I normally don't like these jeweled Air Jordan Wings logos on the Jordan 1 or with any Air Jordan in general, but for this shoe it seems like it matches it really well because you have that gray and silver almost monotone look, which looks pretty shiny, premium, and high fashion. So this jeweled Air Jordan Wings logo pretty much belongs with the whole theme. Then here on the tongue you do have Nike Air branding, and it's actually kind of weird how they did this because the original CO.JP Air Jordan 1 OG High that released in 2001 actually had a Jumpman on the tongue. And another weird thing is that they actually stitched it onto the tongue directly instead of having that patch that most OG Highs have. Then here at the back you actually have this black patch that has a red Jumpman, as well as 2001 and 2020. It is kind of cool that we do get this shoe right now because the first release was in 2001, and this 2020 version is actually the first retro of that shoe. Then behind the tongue and on the sock liner, the textile is pretty unique for an Air Jordan 1 because I really haven't seen these on any other Air Jordan 1 because the textile is stitched in with this sort of checkered design with neutral gray and silver. Then lastly, here on the insole, it is also neutral gray, but it has the CO.JP branding. Then for the overall aesthetics, these just look so fresh, and I don't know what it is. Normally I want some contrast with my shoes, such as with those Jordan 1 mids that are white, black, and red because, you know, the red pops, the black pops, the white kind of ties it in all together. But for these, even though they are sort of monochromatic, well, duochromatic if that's a word, because it's neutral gray and silver, but it just works, and it just has one of those styles that looks super premium and fashionable in my opinion, and is definitely one attention-grabbing colorway of the Jordan 1. I also like that even though the silver is shiny, it isn't overdone, and I also appreciate that most of the shoe is actually neutral gray because we don't really need an all-silver Jordan 1, we just need one with silver in strategic places, such as this one. I also really love that jeweled Air Jordan 1 Wings logo, and this is probably the first and last time I'll ever say that because for every other shoe I don't like these, but for this shoe it really makes sense. Oh, and before we get into the price, there is something that I noticed just now, and it's the laces on this particular Tokyo Jordan 1 because it does come with these sort of flat oval laces instead of the normal like flat laces that all Jordan 1s come in. So that is a pretty interesting change, and I'm not sure why that is, but it really doesn't affect the overall fit or the overall look of the shoe much at all. Then for the price, the Air Jordan 1 Retro High CO.JP Tokyo retailed for 8,295 pesos here in the Philippines or $170 US. It did essentially retail for the standard price of most Jordan 1 OG highs. However, these did sell out really fast, so the only way you can get them is on the resale market. If you are looking for a pair of Tokyo Jordan 1s on the resale market, it's actually not gonna be as bad because the resale prices on these aren't really high. The resale price I see on these is anywhere from its SRP to around 1 to 2,000 pesos more, or around $20 to $40 more than the retail price, so that isn't a bad deal at all. However, you should definitely try your luck if you can get one for the retail price, because I do think that I've seen some on the resale market out there. So there you have it, guys. That was my quick look and review on the Air Jordan 1 High OG CO.JP Tokyo. If you liked the video, please make sure to leave a thumbs up down below. And if you have any comments, questions, or any suggestions for any future videos, please feel free to leave them in the comment section down below as well. Then if you haven't already yet, please make sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon for notifications. It would help us out a lot here at Sneaks and Ball PH.